I've been wanting to make this video for about a month now. Just needed to find a quiet spot and talk to the camera a little bit. But I'm a member of about 15 forums on Facebook, and these pages are oriented towards e-bikes. And on one page for Juice Bikes, which is the brand of my bike, there was a gentleman and he made a post and it said, I'm a big/fat man, about 6'4", 300 plus pounds, and I'd like to ride an e-bike. Any advice on anything I should get? And there was a guy from Chicago, the very first comment on that, and all he put was a diet. And for some reason, that really made me mad. I'm not going to tell you how it really made me feel because I don't want to get kicked off Facebook or YouTube and not be able to get my point across. Wow, how sorry and sad is that individual sitting in Chicago that, being a keyboard commando, he feels like he can put a comment like that to somebody he doesn't know at all. And especially on a forum or a group that's supposed to be supportive and a knowledge base for everybody to use. I thought, man, how sad is that individual? And it really upset me. Now, I'm not overly sensitive. I get the internet, all that stuff, and the trolls. I get plenty of comments of my own on my YouTube channel for that. But just to treat somebody else like that on a one-on-one basis, an individual basis, I thought was just really pathetic. So I had my comment for the man, on what I thought might be useful in order to get him into an e-bike, and so I thought that would be a good topic for a video. I've got some other friends that are heavy. I'm heavy set, and I'm on my bike, but there's a few precautions that I even take, even though I'm not over the weight limit rated for my bike. But first of all, understand this: I'm not a professional. I'm not a bike mechanic. Everything I do, I just kind of learn myself. And so it's all self-taught. Don't take my advice for anything. But a few thoughts that I had that I think would be helpful to larger people that want to get out and start biking. A number of comments, down below that gentleman's post were from people who had, used the eco setting or the one setting on their e-bike and lost weight over a period of time. That's the kind of encouragement I think everybody needs to show each other. But there's a few things that I think, mechanically are considerations that you'll want to take into account when you look for a bike and you're a heavier rider, at least to begin with. A couple things is, if at all possible, I'd probably go to maybe a domestic manufacturer or a domestic supplier. Now, there's probably not a lot of domestic manufacturers, or if there are, the resellers domestically, they get their bikes from China. I get all that, but still, even in the components that come from China, there's a large range of quality within those components, and some of those companies like Trek, for example, or Pedigo, I think they screen their parts and the makeup of their bikes a little bit harder than some of them that you could just buy strictly online. And my bike I bought online. I haven't had a problem with it, but there's a few things that I try to do to make sure that I'm always safe because I am a heavier rider. Number one is I always keep my tires inflated. My fat tires will lose air over a couple weeks, and so every couple weeks I check the air in my tires and make sure that those are up to snuff, because obviously you got to support me and my weight. Number two, this is really big, and that is I think the spokes are an issue, especially in some of the Chinese bikes. The metal might be a little more brittle. It's probably a pretty good indicator when your bike comes with extra spokes. Never in my life have I ever bought another bike, a traditional acoustic bike as I call them, and had extra spokes come with them. Maybe it is a thing nowadays, I don't know, but it's been a long time since I've bought one, but still I bought a number of bikes, never came with extra spokes. So when you buy an e-bike and it comes from China and there are extra spokes in the box, that's probably some kind of an indicator. And I've changed out one spoke on my bike that I found was broken. I was hearing it clicking and it was broken, so I changed that out myself. YouTubed it, found out how, boom, done. But that's another thing. But then I also watched the video on how to tighten my spokes and make sure that the wheel is properly set up for a safe ride. So that's another thing I do. Number three, I'd go over the brakes. You're going to want brakes. I would say go with disc brakes if you're a heavier individual, and make sure they're adjusted well. Remember, when you adjust your brakes, you want to be able to squeeze the handle and not have that bottom out either on your fingers that are wrapped around the handlebar or on the handlebar itself. It should be out maybe about halfway down when you lock up those brakes, and that's the extent of how far those brake handles, the levers, will go. Number four, your seat, and I'm going to throw in the seat post as well. You're going to want to beef up the seat post, or make sure you're not quite over the upper range weight limit of the bike. Otherwise, you're going to want to buy an aftermarket seat post, because there's a lot of leverage on that seat, especially if you're taller, like the gentleman in the post I'm referring to. He was 6'3", 6'4", and I'm 6'3". I know my seat post sits up a lot higher than most people, and I make sure that it doesn't go up too high so that it doesn't start to bend or sag or even break, particularly when I'm riding. I think that puts me on number five, an aftermarket seat. A lot of people go for these Cloud 9 seats, and those are great. They're very popular. They get a lot of good reviews. For me, it's kind of like a couch, and I want something that is what I'd call an all-day saddle, but maybe not looking quite like the couch. So the one seat I got, it's called a Cup by Specialized, and Specialized sells those, but I call it an all-day seat, all-day comfort. But I needed something a little bit bigger than the stock, the old 10-speed type seat on my bike, and I got one of those. 6, when you're shopping for a bike, if you look at some of the more domestic companies, I guess I'd call them, that sell e-bikes. One of them was Quiet Cat. I was on their website the other day, and I'd gotten an email from them. I clicked in, they got a new model out, this and that, but the weight limit on that was 300 pounds. I thought, wow, that's a pretty high weight limit. They might even have something like some of the cargo bikes might have an even larger weight capacity on them, so you might want to look at that as well. But try to get the highest weight capacity or weight rating for the bike that you can. It may mean you have to spend a little bit more money, but I think you're going to be safer overall. And again, you don't want to ride this bike and have any of the components fail on you when you're larger than that, because number one, trust me, you don't fall down like you used to when you were young. You're going to hurt yourself, and it's going to be a doctor's visit or a hospital stay. So you want to be careful for that, especially if you're trucking along at 15, 20 miles an hour. I mean, we just don't heel like we used to when we were younger. We don't bounce very well anymore either, and so you got to take that into consideration. Number 7, the battery itself. You're not going to have the range that somebody half your size will have, because all the ranges, it's kind of like mileage on a car. They tell you the warm fuzzy stuff, but what is your actual mileage going to be? Depending on how you drive. If you drive that car hard, your gas mileage is going to be a lot less. It's the same thing with the battery on an e-bike. And so understand that. Why? Because when you go out for a ride, you don't want to think you've got a 30-mile range on your bike, and 15, 20 miles into it, you've got a dead battery, and you're trying to huff and puff and pedal that thing back, and it's going to give you a heart attack or a stroke, right? So you got to plan ahead on those things, and there's just some considerations that you need to take into account, because again, you're bigger, you weigh more, and the bike's not going to perform optimally when you're that heavy. You can get there and lose that weight maybe, and the bike will perform more optimally, but that's not really the goal right away. Right now, the goal is just to get yourself out there on a bike. Me myself, I'm a heavy guy, and I love to see myself out on the bike. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if they call. Somebody the other day called me a cheater. She goes, "Oh, that's cheating." I said, "Yes, it is. Absolutely. Have a great day." I could care less, right? They don't know anything about me. They don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't riding that bike, which might be sitting on the couch or just sitting at home. I know that I get out on a bike a lot more now because I've got an e-bike than if I would if I just had a traditional bike. I mean, it's probably 10 to 1 in terms of time actually on the bike. And uh, and I pedal 99.9% of the time. One of the things I'm trying to focus on is the journey and not the destination. And for me, the e-bike fits perfectly in that category because I can go farther, I can make those journeys longer, and the destination, I'm going to get there when I get there. I just rode down to a building to change out an AC filter. I just took it was maybe 4 or 5 miles down one way to change the filter, the AC filter, in a unit, and now I'm on my way back, and I'm stopping and I'm doing this video. I also stopped at the boat ramp and had a Diet Coke while I was sitting there watching the jet skis come in. So again, trying to make it about the journey, not so much the destination. The AC filter was my mission today, but it didn't have to be. And because my e-bike, I don't have to worry about how far I'm going to get, if I'm going to be tired, if I'm going to whatever like that. I just go and I come back and haven't made my primary mode of transportation, but it's pretty darn close. I would encourage heavy people, like myself or a grader, to get an e-bike, get out on an e-bike. I don't want to be responsible for your safety if you are past the capacity, but I would even think that the capacity, the rated capacity on a bike is probably, the lawyers probably come up with that, not the engineers. And could it be actually heavier? I don't know. You might want to call customer service at those different e-bike companies and ask them. That might be some place to start. If you said their rating was at 300 pounds and you said, hey, I'm 350 or I'm 325, is that dangerous to get on this bike? They might tell, no, you're going to be okay. Just don't load it down with anything else. Because most people, they'll get an e-bike and then they'll accessorize it, right? And there's, another 15, 20 pounds associated with that. Maybe that's something you can't do if you're overweight and you're trying to, you're riding that line on weight capacity for the bike. So maybe that's something you can't do right away. But the goal is just get you out on that bike, because you'll get out on the bike, you're going to love it. You're going to go further than you would if you had just a traditional acoustic bike. And you never know, you might lose some weight. I'm trying to do that every single day. What would be really cool is if in the comment section below, if you consider yourself overweight and riding an e-bike, maybe what it's done for you, if there's any positives, and so that other people will read that, and that might be the push that they need to go out and get an e-bike. So do me a favor, put something like that down in the comment sections on the video, maybe not so much the forum itself or the groups within Facebook, but on the video itself. And I think that'll be really helpful for a lot of people to get out and either start exercising or just get off the couch and get out of their house more often and kind of explore their surroundings. And if you found this video interesting or informative, please do me a favor, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.